Today, I'm joined by Lisa Downs, the award winning filmmaker behind the Life After Movies documentary series, including Life After the Flash, The Neverending Story, The Goonies, Grease, and most recently, Life After Goodfellas. Lisa is a true child of the 80s and a teen of the 90s, and Lisa's built an entire cinematic universe out of nostalgia, tracking down the people and the stories behind the films that shaped us. From chatting with Sam Jones to interviewing legends like Drew Struzan and Erwin Winkler, she's capturing the stories that exist long after the credits roll. We talk about everything from the Goonies, Goodfellas, and Lisa's trip to New York, including interviewing Kevin Kline and what drives her as a filmmaker. We also chat about crowdfunding and the power of community. So sit back and enjoy my conversation with the very talented Lisa Downs. Lisa, so good to have you on Nostalgia Nation. Thank you so much for making time for us and the audience. Super excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute honor and a pleasure to chat to you again, as always.
Lisa, so you just wrapped up Life After Goodfellas, actually. 35 years of Goodfellas. I cannot believe it. I just rewatched it recently, and it is as good as the very first time that I saw it. So tell me, how does it feel to basically put a wrap on something like this, on a project of this magnitude?
I mean, anytime you have the moment that you've actually finished doing the filming on a project is a huge relief. And then you have that moment of having all of that year's work on like this tiny little hard drive that is just really surreal to think of, like all the stories that are on this drive and all the things that you went through and all the people that you've met. So there's like a moment of being really excited that one hurdle is finished, and then you realize that you're then going to the edit stage, which is just a bigger hurdle, but at least I can do it in a dressing gown and I don't have to leave the house to be able to finish it. But we started Goodfellas. We connected with Chris Cerrone in 2021, I want to say, or 2020, and then first interviewed him in 2021.
Okay.
So as always with these independent projects, like it takes a while for them to happen. I mean, obviously it's good that we can film multiple at once, but definitely to have Goodfellas wrapped, because we also interviewed so many people. It was definitely quite a milestone.
You got to interview quite a few people. My thing is like the type of work that you do, you have to have like such extreme patience because there are so many moving parts for each production, right? So you're balancing Life After Goodfellas, you're doing post edit or editorial on Life After the Goonies. I don't even know. I just think that takes another level of talent, like I don't know if I could manage that. Like yeah. I mean, so how do you do it? What does like a day in the life of Lisa Downs look like typically?
I mean, I guess when you're planning a shoot, you're planning a shoot. You're still booking flights, you're still booking hotels, you're still reaching out to people for interviews, you're still trying to do all the logistical things like car hire and scheduling, and I guess the only difference is the people that I'm reaching out to happen to be connected to different films. So kind of on a macro level, the production is still kind of the same, but it's when you're kind of in one mode and you're like, okay, well, what aspect ratio are we shooting this one in before we do the interview? Okay, make sure all the cameras are set to that aspect ratio. My questions, am I in a Goodfellas headspace, or I'm in a Goonies headspace, or like trying to just the beginning of every day remind myself who the person that we're interviewing is.
Yeah.
So when we're actually in production and overseas filming, it's like hectic. I could spend 2 days just doing questions on someone because I like to know the answers, or think I know the answers of the questions that I'm asking. So I like watch interviews of them. I watch the films that they've done. I read their book if they've released a book. So definitely a lot goes into it. When I'm at home, it's a mix between being in the edit suite, being on my laptop, trying to work out time differences. If I can edit up until, let's say, 5 p.m. my time, and then I start to make calls for people who are in the States if I need to phone someone. there's a lot of juggling, and it's a constant list of who are the people that I'm trying to reach out to, who are the people that I've connected with, and I now have to try and schedule. When do I know that I'm going back to the States? Who is around in that time? And then when I have like a list of people that may be available, then it's like scheduling, where are they based? Who can I get to? Can I do 2 a day? Can I do 3 a day? So it's very busy days. But in terms of doing multiple projects, I try not to think of it as doing multiple projects. I just try and see it as like I'm preparing for a trip where I'm interviewing people, and then I happen to gear the questions around certain projects. I think when I get further into edits, so obviously Goodfellas we're editing now, Goonies and Grease we've started to do the edits for. When you're actually in the edit, you really have to focus that period of time on an edit, because you kind of have to be in a flow. I guess it's like being a writer or like a musician. If you're writing a song, you have to just kind of be in that headspace and not get distracted by anything else. So that's probably the hardest thing sometimes to do. If I know that there's something coming up that I should be preparing for, but I'm trying to edit, I have to kind of put my blinders on.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you explain that, because I think it the behind the scenes stuff, the stuff that happens before that we see the actual film, is fascinating to me. And everybody works a different way, right? But you have your systems, and I love that. Now I know that you were in the States for 4 weeks and you interviewed like 18 talents, and so I just want to know, like, what was it that was like a wow moment for you? Was there anything over the course of the 4 weeks? That's quite a bit of time to be in the States, right? Because you're not usually out here that long, right?
We try and keep it around 2 to 3 weeks, just
Okay.
because of how, like, it's always a catch-22. Like, we want to pack the schedule in as much as possible, but we also can't burn ourselves out. So we always try for 2 or 3 weeks, because then it's a bit more manageable. But with this one, we ended up going to New York, then north, like, I think you call it upstate New York, northern
I'll
New York,
say, yeah, yeah.
Delaware, New Jersey, and then LA for another 10 days. So New York, I always find really kind of hectic to shoot in anyway, just because you're kind of Ubering everywhere. We don't have a hire car. We're in New York, and it's like, it took half an hour to go a mile to get to the location. But so you asked about a highlight. My always, like, meeting Drew Struzan was
Oh,
probably like an ultimate.
wow.
So bless him, we his son Christian and his wife, Drew's wife Dylan, was so kind to let us into his studio at their house literally 2 weeks before he passed away. And it was in his actual studio. There was like a Hook art, like original artwork of Hook, original artwork of Indiana Jones. Like, it was just really
Wow.
surreal to kind of be there. And his son is like spitting image of him as well. So it was kind of strange, but really amazing to hear all the stories about how the Goonies poster was created, because like Drew modeled himself for the poster. His son was the model for like 5 of the kids. And so it was a really nice interview. And then afterwards, Dylan had said, "Oh, he's feeling good today, so you can come and say hello." But
Amazing.
he couldn't speak. Like, he was nonverbal. He just was in a wheelchair. And like, I went in, I was so nervous, and I said, "Oh, Mr. Struzan, thank you so much for everything you've done for my childhood and so many." And he just had this like huge smile on his face. So you could
It's
tell that he
great.
was able to process, but it was so surreal to kind of meet the man that is
Wow.
responsible for so many artworks. And then to hear like 2 weeks later, it was just, that was
Tragic.
really heartbreaking.
Absolutely.
That was probably a highlight, because it was like, do we get to meet him? Do we not? I don't want to assume,
Yeah.
obviously with that kind of illness, you just
Um,
don't know what someone's going to be like. So I think that was probably a highlight. And then our Goodfellas reunion was probably another highlight.
yeah, I'll have to ask you about that. And yeah, Drew Struzan is definitely on the topics here, and just amazing talent, amazing man. And I actually have several of his posters. I have a couple of them right here in front of me. Actually, is the Big Trouble in Little China poster, and then the Goonies poster here right in front of me. And I have a few actually rolled up here. I'm just showing this kind of rolled up. I've got several rolls of Drew Struzan art, Indiana Jones, that sort of stuff. And then The Thing, which to me is probably one of the most incredible, simple looking posters, but quite incredible
Yeah.
So for anyone that's watching, or I'm going to put some images up here, you'll see those for Drew's End. But at the same time, since we're talking about Drew, and we'll get to the Goodfellas in just a moment, I know that you got to also visit Renato Saro. This was for the Life After the Flash or Life After Flash and Life After the Never-Ending Story. And obviously, for those of you that don't know who that is, he's also an incredible artist, talent from the past, did the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly posters, Once Upon a Time in America, Cliffhanger, for you Bond fans, Octopussy. Just an incredible, incredible artist. And I think I remember in your newsletter, I think you may have mentioned that was Quentin Tarantino's favorite poster artist. So can you just give me like a little bit of background on that experience, since we were just talking about Drew and just, to remember Renato?
Oh, so he was just an absolute gentleman. He lived his wife still does, in a town in Italy called Treviso, and it's this like beautiful little town. The house that he lived in is the house that he was born in, so he's like literally been there his whole life. It was a stable, and now it's his studio. But his English was, broken English, so our conversation was mainly through his wife, but he just was so engaging, even though there was that language barrier. And every time we went to visit him twice, and both times they were so welcoming in his home. They took us to lunch. They showed us the town. The second time his exhibition was on, and so we went to that. I got him a patch. And the next time I was like, oh, you're just being nice that you're trying to work out how to sew it on. The next time we saw him, he was wearing his patch on his denim jacket. I was
That's
so
wonderful.
excited. And he just like, to meet someone that has so much talent is just really surreal, because it's kind of hard to comprehend how this person that was in front of me with like the same, 5 fingers could create such incredible pieces.
Good point.
And just to meet someone of that caliber, that you kind of grow up looking at posters, not connecting the fact that maybe there's someone behind them, and then not connecting the fact that maybe it's the same person behind multiple. And for him to have started out with Sergio Leone's really spaghetti westerns films,
Right.
and then he started to do a lot of the Italian versions of famous films, and then to see him in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where because Tarantino, he was a huge fan, he asked him to create the Rick Dalton posters. So it was
Wow.
Ringo Gringo and Nebraska Jim he created in the film for that. And if you have Renato's book, there's like the photo of Leo lying down, and he's like used that to try and copy it. And yeah, it was just
cool.
He was just the most wonderful man, and his exhibition kind of made you realize even more what incredible artwork he did. And it was just an absolute honor to meet him twice, like for Flash Gordon and Neverending Story. It was amazing.
How awesome is that? And the thing is you're right. Like with Drew and Renato, and you just artists like them, you think, wow, like I feel like I'm pretty artistic, dude. You're artistic, but like the body of work that they produce is quite incredible, and just shows you that when you like are focused and a focused artist. I mean, obviously we're going to talk about the Lisa Downs universe, the cinematic universe here, okay, in just a bit. But like you're producing a lot of work as well, yeah, and yeah, exactly, and so. That to me is so impressive over the period of time. But I'm going to put you on the spot. I'd like to know what your favorite Renato poster is and what your favorite Drew poster is.
That is on the spot. I mean, look, as much as I was there for Goonies, I think the Back to the Future posters are iconic and brilliant and clever. And I would probably have to say them. I mean, maybe it's like cliche to say them, but I just think they're so perfect, like the film. I think I can see it in the background if you're
that's true. I do have it back here. I was just here it is. Yeah, so this is the VHS, but I'll put the poster up too, but here's the cover, right? And just an incredible, very obviously, like you said, marquee artwork, and it's unforgettable. Absolutely unforgettable. You're right.
Yeah. And I think for Renato,
I also have this, by the way.
What do you have? What is that? A VHS of Renato
That's
didn't
right.
do that
A
artwork.
VHS of Life After the Never Ending Story.
It's
So,
available on
yeah,
VHS.
that's right. That's
Um,
right.
oh, for Renato, I mean, I think I feel like I'm going for the easy answers, but Renato, I would definitely have to say Neverending Story, just because of how beautiful it is and how much that really was a part of my childhood. But I think, he has some really like his spaghetti western ones, like the way he does Clint Eastwood's face is like I thought it would, photos growing up when you see those
Oh
posters.
yeah.
I think the Once Upon a Time in America is great. I know he was a really big fan of Dancing with Wolves as a poster, which is a beautiful piece of art. So, but I think I would probably have to go with Neverending Story.
That's a great one. Great one. Absolutely. Yeah, wishing their families obviously the best during these times. It must be difficult, but look, we have these guys are legends. Their work is gonna live with us forever, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
l- let's get to some behind the scenes stuff and some fun stuff with Life After Goodfellas. Okay. And so I know that you mentioned also in your newsletter, by the way, you guys make sure that you go over to lifeaftermovies.com and subscribe to Lisa's newsletter because it is so fun. I actually subscribe to it under two different emails so I don't miss it. And yeah, yeah, and so you learn a lot, not only about what Lisa's doing, but you also learn. Lisa offers really great little tidbits about her experiences and some feedback and some things that are just like nuanced things you get from a professional director. You get to learn about the experience of creating these films. So make sure that you go over there and check those out. But I was reading your newsletter, your last newsletter, and you were saying that you guys got to go to John's of 12th Street, that restaurant, which is in the film.
Mhm.
And I want to know, like, did it feel like stepping into the film? Because that's kind of an iconic place to be.
We got in first got in contact with Johns of 12th when we did a walking tour, a mafia walking tour. So Ash, my husband, huge mafia fan, mobster fan, like Casino, Irishman. It's like his go-to movies, and so Goodfellas is his favorite film. So when we took his dad to New York for his dad's 80th, he planned a mafia walking tour. And he found this guy online, TripAdvisor, called Dennis. And one of the stops on the tour was at John's of 12th. We'd never heard of it before, and you get a meatball there before you go on to get like the cannoli and the
Yeah,
it was a great tour. Shout out to Dennis. And just after we went to John's, I was like, I really want to come back and eat here. And it's just become this place that every single time, whenever I know we're going East Coast, it's like my schedule is I book flights and then I book a table at John's and then I start looking at hotels and then I, start planning the rest of the trip because I have the same thing every time. And it's the most, like, there's so much history. It was founded in 1908, but it's the place where the five families were formed as part of the mafia
mm,
history of it all. And it's, Sopranos was filmed there, and they
yeah,
were obviously like the perfect choice when we wanted to host a Goodfellas, like a mini reunion for the dog. But it's just such an authentic Italian place in New York.
for
Um,
sure.
I'm obviously not an expert in New York, but I'm sure there are like many others. But even the people there that we had like were local, like they'd lived in New York their whole life, and they were like, "Oh, this like feels like home. It feels like my grandma's house." So
It's
just
great.
because it had this amazing piece of mafia history, where because the family's being formed there, and they have this candle that has been lit pretty much every day since the 20s because they use that for prohibition. If it was lit, don't come in. If it's not lit, you can come in and have like coffee and cake. So it's just a really, really amazing restaurant that is now like my go-to place
That's
whenever I
wonderful.
visit.
That's so wonderful. And speaking of The Sopranos, I actually ended up buying. I'm going to pull that out of my collection here, but I ended up getting the entire Sopranos special edition set, and
Wow.
it's got. I'm going to open this up. It's got all of the DVDs, and the reason I did that was because I know that I could essentially get it on demand if I really wanted to,
Yeah,
but I
that's
wanted to
really
go.
smart.
But check this out. How beautiful is this? It's basically just I love this kind of stuff, but all look, they're still all sealed inside of the little, but they've got some great photos in this thing here in the back. So basically, you get to get a cool little story about the Sopranos and the
That's
making of. I thought you
amazing.
might appreciate that.
What did you
Um,
think of the ending?
so, oh boy, you're gonna put me on the spot on that one. um, Look, I didn't hate the ending.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's tough to get closure on a show of that magnitude,
Yeah.
and it's the way I think that it allowed the audience to come up with its own theories of what happens when the lights went out, right?
Yeah.
And to me, I think that was kind of clever. It was cool. Sure, it wasn't. It was like that. You know, when you watch the ending of Game of Thrones, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, how could he do that
Yeah.
to to Daenerys and all that?" But it's like when you think about it, it makes sense. Like I think that they really the writers did think it through ultimately, and they were like, okay, well, The Sopranos, for example, we're going to let the audience come up with their own conclusion as to what
Yeah.
happens.
So he
And
can
I
survive if you want him to, and he doesn't if you don't.
exactly. Did you enjoy? Did you like the ending of The Sopranos?
I didn't. I was a bit confused, but I think most people were. But I thought it was really effective, and feel I feel like he died, and I feel like that was the right ending if that's what they planned to
Sure.
do. But I saw an
Yeah.
interview with Lorraine Bracco where they asked her about the ending, and she was like, "You know what? Like, even if you hate it, people are still talking about it." So I think, that's the ultimate. But I think it was definitely a really clever way to keep people talking
Yeah.
and questioning it. And like you say, you can like keep him alive in your mind if you want him to be there.
Totally, absolutely. I love that. Okay, so we both have different perspectives on The Sopranos, but yeah. All right. So tell me, you actually interviewed the kid Henry
Mhm.
in the film, and he has such a unique perspective, I think, as a child actor and like being in that adult world, and then coming up and obviously being played by an adult actor, right? And so, what was it like? Did you get to revisit some of that through his eyes and his perspective and his experience with the adult actors? Obviously, you've got marquee talent in that film all the way around. What did you learn from that? From chatting with him?
I mean, so much. Our edit started off as like 7 hours, so we
Wow.
definitely have learned a lot. But specifically from Chris, what I really love about talking to him is that he loves the film so much and is so proud of this film. And it's such a sliding doors kind of experience because he often says, like, I don't know what my life would have been like if Henry Hill didn't live his. And it's so true. Like, you have this like butterfly effect of what happened in this mafia world, and then Chris has this incredible life celebrating this film that he was part of. He obviously didn't have any scenes with Ray, but met them all at the premiere. But even just him talking about like working with Robert De Niro, and like he's so quiet, but you can see like everything kind of turning in his head. And you would never kind of go up to him and be like, hey, how's your day, like what are you doing? And like you kind of already be in character before he even gets onto set, to just kind of let him know that you're serious about it.
Yeah.
um,
What
so
about Joe Pesci? I want to know about Joe Pesci.
I think he's a funny one. I mean, like obviously we didn't interview Joe Pesci. We didn't expect to. He's very elusive. But everyone talked about how funny he was, and like just really kind of out there and life of the party, and really like switched on and on the ball, and with his improvisation. And I think people were intimidated by Robert De Niro and just very
Sure.
entertained by Joe Pesci. But just the cast in that is incredible.
Oh,
And Joe Pesci wasn't
incredible.
considered like a huge star when they were casting it, and neither was Ray Liotta, and so they had to get De Niro in to kind of get the funding for it. But like it's the most iconic cast, and then so to have this as like your first film that you're suddenly working with all these amazing people, um, he still pinches himself, and rightly so. But
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely we've got lots of anecdotes that if people watch the documentary, they can discover.
Oh, I'm so pumped. Before we move on from that to another topic, tell me about when is that documentary you think going to? What's the timeline that you have right now for that?
We're hoping to have it finished by the end of the year, because we would love to have it premiere in New York next year at a festival. We're kind of listing out the festivals. We have one very key one in mind that we would love to hit, that I won't say because I don't want to jinx it, but unless maybe I wrote it in the newsletter. So maybe I already have. Um, so definitely we'd love to premiere it next year. And then obviously we do all our things like the Blu-rays and the VHS. So we'd love to. Distribution's tricky because sometimes you don't know how long it takes. Some people do festival runs for a year, then that's another year on top of people waiting to see it or have it released. So it's just kind of working out what the best way is to really capitalize on the film festival arena of it all, because I really enjoy them and it's really good for press, but also not having people kind of wait too long to then see it on Blu-ray or streaming.
Mm,
Depends what we
yeah.
decide to do. So definitely would like to have it finished by Christmas.
That's wonderful. So tell me, with Life After the Goonies, were you aiming for a summer release on that one next year?
We're still filming.
Oh,
So
okay.
what I'm discovering about Goonies is that there are so many people that I want to interview. The list has been extending. After this, I will send you an updated teaser for you so you can see kind of
Wonderful.
what we're working on. But we're at the point now, and I think I said this in my newsletter, that we've kind of got so many wonderful cast and crew that I've put together for a teaser that now we're ready to kind of start approaching the like super big tier names. And when you get to that level, it takes longer to try and get through to someone. It takes longer to put the interview
Sure.
request in. It takes longer once they've said yes to get their schedule clear. So that's kind of where we're at the moment, but I'm really excited about it.
That's
As a
wonderful.
fan, it's always a balance of wanting to get it out as quick as possible, but want it to be the best it can be because I only have one chance at making this documentary.
Totally.
So I want it to be right, and I want it to be something that I'm like really proud of and I know that fans will really enjoy. So it's always like a battle of, do you want to try and get it out sooner so it's out and you don't have people waiting? But then once it's out, would you regret rushing
Yeah.
it?
No,
So
that's a great point. And you know, that is exactly right, especially with a film like The Goonies. Well, every film that you've done, it's got to be right, and you got to. I think with you, you really approach it also from a fan's perspective too, someone who's grown up and watched these films, and I think that just really is highlighted in the value and just sort of the experience of watching your films, which is really important. Now, I do have to update probably my book because it says Life After the Goonies 2025 on the back. And
oh,
so
I'm so
so
sorry.
yeah, no, it's okay. Actually, I just realized that the hardcover of my book, the hardcover version, it doesn't say 2025. I was smart enough to remove that just in case. But I think
Well
somewhere in the
done.
interior it says 2025. So I might have to
It's
do an
fun.
update.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Even
It's like,
like, I look back on my old crowdfund pages and then see, expecting summer of 2025. And it's always like wishful thinking.
right.
And then you remember how much it takes to go into it. And really, I did think Goonies, I just have like when you meet someone, they're like, oh, have you interviewed this person? I can give you their email. And you're kind of discovering people to interview as you're filming. So
Yeah.
yeah, sorry about that with
Yeah,
the
no,
book.
it's okay. No, it's not. Yeah, it's wonderful. It gives me a reason to go back in and do some edits and things like
Yeah.
that. So that's wonderful. All right, so let's talk about the cinematic universe that you've built here because you really have, and you continue to build on this universe. And so it's like the Life After cinematic universe, or the LCU, the
Yeah.
Lisa cinematic universe. I love it. So you've built it on the Life After documentaries, Life After Flash, Life After Neverending Story, Life After Grease, and The Goonies, Goodfellas. And I want to know, and I think the audience wants to know, is how do you come up and choose which films to revisit? Like, what goes through? Because there's so many great films, so many great opportunities, but what comes up in your mind and you go, you know what, I'm going to spend a good portion of a year, maybe two, creating
Fine.
this. Yeah, or five. Yeah.
Um, you know what? It's a mix of having my list of films that I really want to do, reaching out to people, and then also being open to opportunity. So Flash just happened. The opportunity came about. I wasn't expecting to do it. And then, I met a friend and she knew Sam, and then I pitched it to her, and then suddenly I was in Texas filming. And then once when we were in production for that, and Ash suggested that we maybe do it as a series, wouldn't it be fun? I sat and wrote my list of films. And straight away, kid of the 80s, I'm like, Flight of the Navigator, Goonies, Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, Neverending Story, E.T., that kind of amazing group of films that we grew up with. And then it's like being realistic and going ahead, going through, if, doing a film about Flash Gordon and Sam isn't involved, could you really do it? And so it's going through each film and going, okay, who would be like the people that you couldn't make it without? And then the people that would be wonderful to have, but maybe fans would forgive you if they're not involved. And then it's just about opportunity of trying to get in front of someone. So this is going to sound really horrible to say, but I was very lucky that Joey Kramer was in jail when I was deep diving him, because it gave me a point of focus to try and find him. If he
Mm,
wasn't in jail, he had no social media. I don't think he had email. I wouldn't have even known where to even start finding him. But because I became pen pals with him, that then opened the doors for that.
wow.
Um, as a result, obviously, Randall directed Flight of the Navigator, and he also directed Grease. So that then opened the avenue for me to start talking about Grease with Randall. Goonies was one, and let me also say, I sent out a lot of emails to people that I wanted to do films on, and some I didn't get any response, some were a no. So I do have a long list of films that I want to do, and some are not going to happen because the people that I would need don't want to be involved.
You got to
But
let me know. I'll take care of it. I will bug them.
I mean, this was also, I started doing these reach outs when we were still filming Flash. So I had nothing released at that point. So maybe things, if I revisited it, may change,
Sure.
maybe. But Goonies was always on the top of my list. And so that was why when we were still filming for Flash, Ash just said, like, you may as well, like, I think we're in Portland. Why don't we go to Astoria for a day and just kind of see it? And we had lunch there in like 2016 or 17. And then he said, well, why don't you just email Richard Donner's office and see if he'll do an interview? Because in my head, I was like, I would never do it unless Sean said yes and Richard Donner said yes.
Wow.
Richard Donner said yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I flew out especially, and I think 2017, from England to interview him, just to interview him, and then happened to go to a Comic-Con where three of the cast were, my intention was to go and try and talk to Sean to get his yes, but I didn't get a chance to meet them properly. And then it wasn't until last year that I finally got in front of Sean and he said he would be involved. So that's why that took from 2017 to 2023 to start, because I was sitting on this Richard Donner interview just going, I need to find a way to get in front of Sean Astin. And, I was emailing PR, I was emailing, but I had to actually go and see him face to face. And then like Goodfellas, Ash had been saying to me, I really want to do a film about, like, a documentary about one of my favorite films. And then I happened to get a text the next week from someone to say, hey, I know Chris, do you want to do Life After Goodfellas? Like, purely coincidental.
Wow.
So I was like, well, that's the universe going, maybe we should do a Goodfellas one. So there's just so many factors in how many people from the film realistically might want to be involved. How big is the film? Has there been something done before? Like Back in Time had been done, so I didn't worry about Back to the Future. There was a Ghostbusters one. So there was always like lots of moving parts of why we ended up doing the ones that we did, but they're very much ones that were on my list anyway to do. So that was a long-winded way of that
No,
explanation.
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now, I know we don't have a lot of time, so I want to move on to another subject. Kind of get some closure on what's headed, what's coming up with you and the crowdfunding and community and all that. But I just wanted to put this out there for all the other folks that love this film that I love, in particular from the 80s, and actually fell in love with a lot more as an adult, because The Goonies is my favorite kid film. Like, that's my favorite film from the 80s as a kid, besides it's right up there with Back to the Future. But the film that I kind of fell in love with as an adult was Big Trouble in Little China. And a lot of the key actors are still around for that. But if I could just put this out there, if you were going to think of maybe a potential next film or send out some emails, how about Kurt Russell? He keeps doing these Santa Claus movies. Maybe he'll sit and do an interview for Big Trouble in Little China. What do you think, Lisa? Can we maybe think about that?
I've only seen it once, so
Okay.
I feel like I would definitely keep an open mind, and if the opportunity arose, I mean, you know what? Like, I'm always open-minded with any opportunity that comes up.
That's wonderful.
So
Yeah.
wouldn't that be nice if I could email you one day and be like, you know what I'm
Oh,
doing?
Oh my
You're
gosh. I'll tell you
involved.
what, if you say you're coming to the States to interview for Big Trouble in Little China for 4 weeks, I will literally stay up there in LA for 4 weeks.
Noted.
And, I would love that. The other film I would say is, come on, Batman 89, right? That's a great film to do
That's a
a doc on.
that's
I'm sure it's a lot of stuff on that film and behind the scenes. That would be fun.
well, that's also
Yeah,
the other thing you have to keep in mind is like how much is there of the film if you want to do one,
right.
you know? And so
Totally.
are you just going to be rehashing stuff that's already out there?
For
So
sure. You could also do a another another part of your cinematic universe could be horror films. Like, like that's huge, right? That whole genre has become such a huge part of pop culture today, way more than in the past.
I mean, I would
Yeah.
love to do Lost Boys. Like,
Oh,
love to do Lost
oh my
Boys.
gosh.
I would
Yeah.
have done anything to meet Corey
Yeah.
Haim. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Um,
Totally. Totally.
I really love him so much. But I was really, one of the things that was on my list was Pet Cemetery. And then I saw that a
Oh,
UK company, they did Fright Night documentary. They also, I think, were the ones behind RoboDog. But so there was a Pet Cemetery one. So I was disappointed
great
when I found
film.
out about that. And
That's one that I saw in the theater.
right,
So I got to catch
that
that
would have
one.
been
That was
amazing.
awesome.
And I
Amazing.
did
Amazing.
try and track down Damien from The Omen because at that point I'd
Oh,
interviewed Richard Donner. I was like, I can just go back and interview him for The Omen. So I like found Damien's company house address in England and was writing him, but he never wrote back. So
oh, come on,
Damien,
Damien. Man, all right. Well, listen. If you do a Big Trouble in Little China, you've got my entire support behind. Well, you always have my support, but I literally I'll hold a boom for you. I don't care wherever you go to interview.
I
So
appreciate
you got it. All right. So let's talk about the Irwin Winkler documentary that you're doing. I think it's called "The Man Behind the Movies." Is that the working title right now?
it's a
And
working. I'm sure that will be it, but I'll say it's a working title just in case.
okay, so you've got Kevin Kline, Deborah Messing, Barry Levinson, and you I think met with Kevin Kline, right? You interviewed
I
him.
did his makeup.
Oh my gosh, how
That
awesome
was
is that?
I was like, hi, Kevin.
Oh my gosh.
I was going to say just the nicest and like most low maintenance person I've ever met and did not disappoint. And he was so charming. And yeah, I really liked him.
I love it. I love it. So, for those of you that don't know, Irwin Winkler produced Rocky, Raging Bull, The Irishman, and basically, I mean, the guy's like a master class in American cinema. I think this is going to be an awesome documentary. I cannot wait to see it. And so, what's the expected timeline on that?
Um, so I know it's just like a left field from Life After.
Right.
Again, the opportunity arose. We were at Owen's house after we did the Goodfellas interview, and someone mentioned it, and I was like, "I'll do it." And that's literally how it happened. And we pitched it to him when he came to London. We met with him and pitched. And the thing about that one, I would love for it to culminate with the 50th anniversary Rocky celebrations next year happening
Mm,
in Philadelphia.
right.
They're also shooting a Rocky biopic at the moment. So I feel like even though, he's obviously done so much more than Rocky, that's one of his most well-known contributions to cinema. So I would love it to be able to be released next year towards the end of the year during the Rocky anniversary. But again, it's always like funding, logistics,
Yeah.
schedules. When we're dealing with like this now level of interviewees, they're not like always just free next Tuesday.
Of course
You're
not.
kind of working around. But
Yeah.
I'm really excited about some of the people that we're going to interview who have already said yes.
That's wonderful. Please tell me Stallone said yes, because if he hasn't, we need to get him on board, right? I mean, Stallone's got to say yes.
Still a lot of people to reach out to, but I will say that De Niro said yes.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Congratulations. That's fantastic.
So there's like, certain people that I'm just like so excited and like feel sick that we're going to meet at some point.
Hey, look, I mean, I'll tell you with Stallone, I mean, the guy's still shooting Tulsa King, so I'm sure he can make time for you. Okay. So
He's a big part of the story.
Okay. Yeah, no, of course. Of course. Stallone, if you're watching, keep punching, I know, but you got to see Lisa, right? All right. So thank you for that, Lisa. I wanted to get kind of an update, make sure the audience knew what was going on with all of this. all of these projects. But really, let's talk about, as we kind of come to a close here, let's talk about crowdfunding and your community. And I know you've been really transparent about using, Kickstarter to make these documentaries happen. What's something people don't realize about how fan funding, really changes and supports the creative process? What could you say to people watching this right now about the importance of crowdfunding and how they can be involved with your projects?
I mean, it's so special to have people who are willing to put their hard-earned money behind a project that you're working on, and it's your kind of vision and your baby. I know that there is often a stigma with crowdfunding where people may have put in money for a project that has never happened, or it's taken 10 years, or people don't update, or they just have a really frustrating experience with it. It's not always like that. You can always go on the pages and research the people and see how much they've been updating or whatever before you put in a project. But I love to update. I love to keep everyone involved with everything. And it's just a really wonderful way to have people kind of join our Life After community. But it genuinely, and I don't say this lightly, these projects would not happen without crowdfunding. So it's such an integral part when funding is always the biggest battle of making these films constantly. And even then, it's hard to put the actual amount that you need as the amount that you want to raise on crowdfunding, because people see it and be like, oh, that's, they're asking for too much. Or so you never put the amount that you really need. So even if you have a successful crowdfund, it still means that you're in the background, still trying to find private investment, or still trying to sell our other Blu-rays to raise money, or try and do a pre-sale, or try and do something to raise the funds for it. So it's such an important part of the crowdfund. And we've just met some amazing people along the way who have become part of our team. And it's just completely invaluable. And I appreciate that people have reservations about crowdfunding for various reasons, but it is just truly so important as a filmmaker to have that ability to raise money like that.
Of course, I totally agree. And I think for anyone that's listening, who loves 80s and 90s and, just pop culture and past pop culture films in general, I think, it's so easy to support projects like this. It's really the apps and the site that you can go to with Kickstarter. You can just go in and select the tier that you want, and even a small amount goes such a long way. You don't realize it, but if you get enough people donating even small amounts, like what they can afford, obviously, it really helps independent documentaries really thrive and continue to happen, right?
Yeah.
So please do that, you guys. It is important to support projects like this, especially if we want to see them and we want to see the behind the scenes stuff,
And I think there's some pretty fun perks. Our Goonies in Greece are actually still open. So Kickstarter started this thing called late pledges, where if it's successful, you can choose certain rewards that they can still continue to pledge.
Wonderful.
Up until it's finished. So things like even just a Blu-ray or your name in the credits. But there are fun things like bike flags and cassettes and I think in Greece we did like a varsity jacket and some kind of really cool things. So I think there's some really fun things there too. But so those crowdfunds are still open.
I love that. That's good. Thank you for letting me know that. And anyone watching, if because of this, I'm going to put that in the show notes below, so you guys can just link right to it and support the projects, of course. I know that your films, they're really about kind of what happens next. Like with Joey Kramer, for example, it was so good to see that he'd done better and he just, his life was together and things were going really great for him. And all your films have like that personal connection to the actors and things like that. Well, not just the actors, but the people who grew up watching. I mean, you also bring the audience in your films. What's the life after lesson that kind of keeps you going as a filmmaker? What is it that keeps you driven in producing and creating?
I think that's such a hard question. I think if you have something in your life that if you think about not doing anymore, it just, it's not an option, then you just find any way you can to keep doing it. Like for me, I just loved my childhood. I love nostalgia. If I could still be living in my teenage room and like I would do it. I love it so much. And so this is kind of my way of like celebrating my childhood like you with your page, like that's your way. And so this is my way. And I think then to be able to connect with people who have the same memories, but also for me, it's like meeting these amazing people that have made the films, and meeting the cast, but meeting the crew and just all these people that have come together to make these incredible movies. Like I was just at a Labyrinth convention over the weekend and like,
Right.
there's Brian Froud and there's Brian Henson. And like, it's just amazing to kind of put faces to the films that you grow up with. And I think it's just these films as something that I just feel like it feels right that I'm doing them.
I love that.
That's a really hard question, but I just know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Oh man, I love that. I absolutely love that. You just know, and that's that means a lot. It really does. Now, Lisa, your social media on you're pretty active on TikTok, right?
I should be better, but I am. I go through phases.
Yeah. No, you're as active as you can be, right? Because you're very busy, and you do have your Instagram. And I want the audience to really know, as we kind of close, that to connect with Lisa, you guys really need to be on her Instagram as well as her TikTok page, and you have your actual show, the web show, which is on YouTube. So I'm going to link all those things out in the video description below. So you guys make sure you can find Lisa and connect with her in all those ways. And if you have connections that can help Lisa, please get in touch with her. Obviously, what's the best way to connect with you?
I mean, to be honest, any that is easiest for them. Like I'm Life After Movies on TikTok, Life After Movies on Instagram, and Life After Movies on Facebook. I'm the one, obviously being independent. It's like I've got then my social media expert hat on. That I do all, like, it's just me. So anyone that messages and get a reply, it's me replying. And it's really nice when I send out a newsletter and I see people reply to the newsletter with like comments and going, oh, I really love this. And I love the Polaroids, so just even get to like, have like little email back and forth with people after a newsletter's come out is really nice. So
that's wonderful.
Any way that is most convenient for you, message me and I will message you back.
Awesome. Speaking of Polaroids,
boom.
Yeah, I still got that. Yeah, I put it right here. I was like, what am I? Well, I also have one of the autographed Bob Gale photos you sent me up there, which I love. It's framed up there. I'll show that in the video as well.
I forgot I got you that. That was
absolutely love it. And I have a few people who come over sometimes and they go, wow, where'd you get that? And it's pretty cool. It's right on the top there. I'll show it off in the video. But Lisa, thank you so much for spending some time with us here. And I can't wait till we do this again as you continue to obviously create the films, but also I really see a couple more awards for you in the next year.
That would be nice. It also means the films are finished and out, which would be
that's true. That's true.
But when they're finally out, I'm excited about that.
That's wonderful. I also want to give a shout out to Ash, your husband, who also is comes out to all of your productions and does so much hard work. So we want to show him some love and appreciation. And loved having you guys here last year.
It was
was it last year or was it earlier this year? I can't remember. It earlier?
It would have been like September last year.
Last year. Yeah. We had a lot of fun.
It was really fun to interview you for Life After the Goonies.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so pumped. I'm actually I think I'm wearing the same shirt. I wear this only on special occasions, so.
It's a good shirt.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. But anyway, thank you so much, Lisa. You guys, Lisa Downs, director of the Life After movies, super talented. Please make sure that you connect with her. Lisa, as always, thank you so much. And obviously wishing you the very best as you produce and continue to create these films. Thank you so much for your time and being here.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Lisa. All right, stay rad, you guys.
Some people fighting, maybe it's for something real, but the truth that they